friends, ready to learn something exciting? Let's go. But before we wrap up the video lessons for this particular topic, I would like to cover cellular organization in a little bit more detail. Now, we have already discussed that all organisms have been divided into 5 major groups: prokaryotes, protists, fungi, plants, and animals. All of these organisms are made up of cells. There are 2 basic types of cells. The first group being the prokaryotic cells and the second being the eukaryotic cells. As we know, cells work together and organize in a certain fashion to make the bodies of the organisms. This can create a single-celled or unicellular organism. A multicellular organism with billions of cells that are organized in a complicated way, or a colonial cellular organization, resulting in an organism which is called a colonial organism. What is all this information? Well, let's see each of them in a bit more detail. Now look, what we have here is an amoeba, a paramecium, and euglena. Do you know what these 3 things have in common? They all are made up of 1 cell each. That means that their entire life processes are carried out by this single cell. Isn't that so interesting? Well, let me excite you guys a little more. Look at this here. This is a type of green algae called volvox. Can you guess what cell type it is just by looking at this? Lots of similar looking things found next to each other. Well, it has a colonial type of cellular organization. What does that mean? It means that each of these organisms that you see here is unicellular in fact, but they exist together in the form of a colony. However, there is no division of labor over here. This means that unlike in multicellular organisms, where we see all cells working together as a common body or tissues, here each organism does their individual jobs. There is absolutely no dependence of function between the organisms in a colonial organization. What does that mean? Think of it like a roommate you never talked to or shared stuff with, but just lived with, if that makes sense. That's how hundreds of volvox cells make a colony. Lastly, as we have already discussed animals and plants, for instance, the frog over here and the mustard plant over here are both multicellular organisms. So, we don't just see cells here. We see cells organized into tissues, tissues organized into organs, organs organized into organ systems, and hence we see a multicellular organization.